Hey everybody, and welcome to the 14th episode of the Chainsaw Reacts podcast. Today's podcast, guys, is covering two topics, Marvel and DC. I'm very excited to get into these things, guys. The first topic, of course, is Captain America Civil War cast revealed. I'm so excited to get into this topic, guys. We're going to talk about the speculation of who could be casted later in this film, talk about the casting that we've got now, and talk about the speculations of the film. We're just going to go all over the place with Captain America Civil War, but especially talk about the casting for quite a bit of the topic. The second topic, guys, is of course the revealing of the Suicide Squad as we know and as we are anticipating, if you're anticipating like me. So I'm going to talk about the Suicide Squad photo, mainly talk about Harley and her look because that's a main thing that I really focused on, but also talk about the look of a couple other characters, but there's that. So we'll have to talk about that as the second topic. So Marvel and DC, so we got a little mixture of both. So anyways, guys, let's get into the first topic, which is of course Captain America Civil War cast revealed. Oh my god, guys. If you have not seen this by now, you need to look it up right now and follow along with me, guys, because this is insane stuff. The casting for Civil War, as of right now, as I'm recording this podcast, is bigger at this point than Age of Ultron. There are so many characters in this film. It's basically Avengers 2.5. Avengers 3 and then Infinity Wars 4 and 5. It's ridiculous because at this point, when you see the massive amount of people in this film, how in the world is this going to be a Captain America film? Because it's Captain America Civil War. At this point, it's Avengers Civil War, but I digress. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna first get into the newly people that were announced in this film, and then I'll go through the entire list. But first, I want to get to the individuals that were added in. That was the big reveal that really made people go, "Yeah, Civil War just got way better." So, anyways, let's get to the newly additions. First. So it's official, guys. Officially, Hawkeye is going to be in this film. Vision is officially announced, so Paul Bettany is returning as Vision. I'm very excited about that. Don Cheadle as War Machine. Yes, I love me some War Machine. If you saw Age of Ultron, you love that scene with War Machine. I loved it to death. Of course, we have Elizabeth Olsen returning as Scarlet Witch. Very excited to see that return there. One of the biggest surprises out of the bunch, I mean, obviously, if you saw Age of Ultron, you kind of knew that a couple of these people are going to be returning, but this one is kind of a shock. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. Ant-Man is going to be showing up in Civil War. It's awesome because, in retrospect, I mean, people look at Age of Ultron as the end of Phase 2, but technically Phase 2 ending is Ant-Man, so people are speculating there's some lead-in with some tie-ins to Civil War, and that's why Ant-Man is going to be in Civil War, so there might be some tie-ins in the Ant-Man solo film because it bridges Age of Ultron, which is the events that caused what's happening in Civil War, so Ant-Man might be the bridge that leads Age of Ultron into Civil War, and Ant-Man's in the middle, so Ant-Man is returning in Civil War, which is awesome. Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter, Agent 13, or what we assume is Sharon Carter, but technically Agent 13. She had a very small role in Winter Soldier, but she's returning. Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow, a.k.a. Crossbones. So we have a villain. We have our first villain out of the two confirmed so far in this film. So that's cool. Here's another big surprise, guys. William Hurt. If you don't know who I'm talking about, who's William Hurt? He was General Thunderbolt Ross in the Incredible Hulk film in 2008. What? I kind of stumbled there because I was trying to think. Yeah, the Incredible Hulk. Guys, they're finally introducing into like the MCU that we know and love today, because the first phase was great and all, but there's not been a lot of talk, and the Incredible Hulk was just kind of forgotten. They're bringing Thunderbolt Ross into the Civil War film, which makes sense. His character could kind of fit in, but it was just amazing that the Incredible Hulk is so far away from us at this point, because in 2016 it'll be literally 2 phases away from the Incredible Hulk, and we've not really talked about that film at all in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since basically Avengers 1. There might have been a little reference there, but we're finally getting some connections with the Incredible Hulk film and bringing the continuity. So we're bringing William Hurt to return as General Thunderbolt Ross. So that's really, really awesome. Now, we knew this, guys, but it was a big deal because people just made a big deal out of it. Technically, it was announced in 2014, but Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, still a great thing there. But there you go. Daniel Bruhl as casted as Baron Helmut Zemo. Now, Helmut or Helma, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but they're saying Baron Zemo, and there's apparently versions of that character. I'm not really sure because I'm not really familiar with the character. However, it was announced that Daniel Bruhl was casted for a long time, but people are saying he is Baron Helmut Zemo or Barrett Zemo, Baron Zemo, whatever, but there's a second villain there. And so we gotta get a lot of speculation here, but let's go down the line. This is the entire casting so far, and then I'll get to my speculations of who could be casted later down the road. So let's get to the entire casting as we go down the line here. Chris Evans is Captain America. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Scarlet Witch as Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson Falcon, Paul Bettany as Vision, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, Don Cheadle as War Machine, Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Emily Van Camp, Agent 13, Frank Grillo, Crossbones, William Hurt, General Black Panther, Daniel Bruhl as Baron Zemo, Martin Freeman and Ray Safatapi, I probably butchered that name to death, but have been cast in unspecified roles. Now, the Martin Freeman thing is, of course, a big deal because Martin Freeman is, of course, he is a God. I'm blanking on his name. From the Hobbit films. My God, guys, I'm blank. Anyways, that's not important. He played the main character in the Hobbit films. I'm losing my mind there for a second. So, anyways, Bilbo. There you go. I think that's correct. I'll probably butcher that. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyways, back to Marvel. Nothing about the Hobbit films. So, this is a huge cast, guys. That's a huge mile long of people in this film. Now, obviously, one big missing factor in this is no Spider-Man. Of course, they're not going to announce Spider-Man in this film yet until they cast Spider-Man. Now, there's a lot of speculations that they are in the final talks with a couple different actors who could potentially play the role of Spider-Man, and that if Spider-Man is casted in Civil War, because as of right now, they have started filming Civil War. They'll be filming this for quite some time because there's a lot of people they got to get in, and I'm assuming this film is going to be as big and as long as an Avenger film. So they're going to have this film's just going to be in production for a very long time, filming wise. So Spider-Man might have a small role, but he will be involved in this film, hopefully in some way, and that's the speculation. Now, obviously, Hulk, Thor is also not even announced for this film, and it's very interesting that, and also Nick Fury as well. Samuel L. Jackson has not been announced as Nick Fury. My theory is that they're probably holding Nick Fury off until Infinity War, because maybe his contract is kind of dwindling down, and maybe he doesn't want to resign for a couple more films. Maybe he just wants to kind of, continue on with new characters and all this stuff. It's going to kind of suck, but at the same time, it happens. So there's also some talk that some Marvel cast members have their contracts renewed. My theory, that's probably that might be Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, so he can appear in more films. That's probably Paul. Anyways. Paul Bettany probably assigned to do more films because now he's the Vision, so now he's going to be appearing in more films, so there's that, and who knows, but at this point, Thor and Hulk has not been announced, and of course, Spider-Man has not been announced. Now, at this point also, Doctor Strange has not been announced to appear in this film. Now, obviously, his solo film comes out in 2016 November, but it doesn't mean he can't make a cameo in there and all that, and of course, Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil, in the Netflix series, has said that he would love to appear in Civil War, even if it's a cameo, but who knows, that's probably not going to happen. But there you go. So with this in mind, and let's just pretend hypothetically that they're not going to announce anybody else in Civil War. Let's go off into speculations. Number one, the first speculation is they do not announce anybody else in this film. Even if they do some reshoots, nobody else gets casted in this film. No one else is announced. It's just, this is the cast we got. My thing is that we're probably going to be seeing the Avengers, of course, picking sides, Captain America's side and Iron Man's side, and then we're going to see some fighting with probably different characters, and of course the big daddy of them all fight that we're all wanting to see, Iron Man and Captain America. Oh yeah, that's the big fight. Now with Baron Zemo and Crossbones announced, and technically we do not know Winter Soldier's role in this film. We don't know if his mind is still, I want to attack Captain America. So if it is, that's technically a third villain, but let's say on the hypothetically that he's not. So we have two villains that could possibly be working together, because we have two people that might speculation join forces to fight the new Avengers that Captain America is leading, because that's what's happening. So that might be the case, or they might go attack Iron Man's, his side of people that want, the government to, if that's the theory that Iron Man's going to pick the government should control us, then maybe they'll go attack them. Who knows? But if that's the case, then my theory is, and obviously this is just a theory, that Baron Zemo and Crossbones are going to be facing off the Avengers in this film, that they're going to be the villains of the film. They are, of course, villains, but they'll possibly be facing off in the end of the film against the Avengers, or being part of them. Who knows? But it's very interesting to really speculate this, because when you really think about it, you really don't need a villain in this film. You really don't need a particular person that the Avengers needs to fight, because technically in this film the Avengers need to be fighting each other. Now, we're probably going to get that throughout the entire film, and at the end they all might make up and, be all happy ever after together and skip down the, yellow brick road and all that crap. But let's say they don't. Then, we're going to continue this on in kind of Infinity War and then all of that. So, but announcing that they have not just one, but two villains in this film tells me that under all of the stuff they're going to be going through, Iron Man's side and Captain America's side, there's villains that they have to deal with at some point. And if they're setting up Crossbones, because that's Frank Grillo, who, of course, Brock Rumlow, who got burned up and was fighting the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he comes back as Crossbones, then there's obviously, they're trying to use him for something more than just being in this film. Now, obviously, he could be killed in this film, but setting up Baron Zemo is, I think, a big deal, because I've heard that this character is a big villain in the Marvel Universe, and obviously I could be wrong, could have heard wrong, but my thing is, if they're going to be introducing Baron Zemo in this film, that's hugely populated with Avenger characters and side characters and all that kind of stuff, then Baron Zemo must be a big deal in order for all these Avengers to be in this film, and he's the villain plus Crossbones. So, at what point is it going to turn from being an Avenger versus an Avenger film to the Avengers versus another villain film? Where does the line end? So that's the thing. So, with this announcement of two villains, I'm thinking that yes, we're going to see the Avengers fighting each other, and then we're going to see the Avengers taking on these villains and ending the film on a good note, because Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, of course, stated in a interview that this film is a setup for Infinity War. So expect some tie-ins to Infinity War. Expect some teases into the Infinity War, like in Age of Ultron, which Age of Ultron made sense because Thanos is out there. Thanos wants to fight the Avengers. That's our theory, that he wants to get the Infinity Stones and take over the galaxy and kill off anybody that's good. So he's after the Avengers. So that made sense. But Civil War, I'm really interested to see how they're going to tie that in. I'm also interested in see how they're going to introduce Black Panther in this film, because we're not going to just see Chadwick Boseman just playing Black Panther without the suit. He's going to have the suit on. So I do not want to be on the other end of the Black Panther, because Black Panther will destroy. And also, somebody made this really cool comment that actually is really awesome, and it's just something really cool to think about, because in this day and age of, superhero films and all this other stuff, there is a lot of white characters. And in this film in Civil War, we have 3 African American superheroes, which is really, really cool. Not because they're African American means they're cool. It just means that, there is some variety going on there, so we're not just staring at a sea of white people. We're going to see some diversity and some differences there, so we get to see War Machine, Falcon, and Black Panther all in one film. And I think that's really, really cool, because that shows that Marvel is going to step outside of the box and, bring in these different, races of characters, so now it's not just all one race. We have a variety of things going on, so that's pretty cool. But so there's that. I'm just really interested to kind of see where Ant-Man fits in all this, because Ant-Man has a solo film. He's going to fight Yellow Jacket in his solo film, and Ant-Man's going to be a part of this film. Now, obviously, it's Scott Lang version of Ant-Man, not Hank Pym. Now, is Hank Pym going to show up in the Civil War? Because, of course, he's the original Ant-Man. Is he going to show up for some kind of continuity? Because in the Civil War comics, Hank Pym is involved in the Civil War comic book version. So are they going to bring over Michael Douglas to reprise his role as Hank Pym in Civil War, to kind of have a little role in the film, to kind of work with Scott Lang and kind of have a discussion, or maybe Hank helps out with the Avengers or something? That'd be kind of cool to see that. But I'm really interested to see mostly where Scott Lang is going to fit in all this, because if what we're going to understand in Ant-Man is that he's approached to become the Ant-Man. So at what point does he start deciding for himself to be like, well, this is what I want Ant-Man to stand for? And also the same thing with the Vision, because if you've seen Age of Ultron, I'm not going to get into any dialogue or any particular details, but Vision, at one point was kind of like, well, what? I don't know what side I'm on. So with that kind of statement, and if you've seen the film, you kind of understand where what I'm talking about, where he doesn't know where he stands. That's going to put Vision in kind of a hold. Like, where does Vision stand in all this? Where does he stand with the government? Should control us, or the government should not control us. So it's a pretty interesting thing. It's a kind of a gray area because you just don't know what characters, what sides they're going to pick. Now, the two characters that I can confirm, and well, kind of confirm, it's not really confirmed, but it's kind of obvious they're going to pick these sides. Of course, Iron Man and Captain America are on opposite sides. The two characters I believe they're going to be picking these individual sides. The two characters are simply Falcon is going to be picking Captain America's side, and War Machine is probably going to be picking Iron Man's side. So there's two sides, right? There's people picking sides there, but at what point are all these other characters? Where's Scarlet Witch going to go? Where's Ant-Man going to go? Where's Black Panther going to go? That's interesting as well. Depends on what's happening in Wakanda will determine where I think he stands with whose side it is. Because how they're going to introduce Black Panther is going to be very crucial because this is the first initial look because we have all these characters, plus we're going to be introducing a brand new character, which is Black Panther, and of course, a villain, Baron Zemo, and all that stuff. But introducing the whole entire idea of Wakanda and all this stuff. They did that in Age of Ultron with, of course, Claw. But, introducing the Black Panther character, the character we've been waiting to see for a very long time, it's just going to be interesting. So I have a theory they're going to be involving Wakanda in some way in order to bring Black Panther over into the States in order to pick a side, essentially. So it just depends on if something happens in Wakanda will determine where Black Panther stands with Iron Man or Captain America. So it just kind of depends on what they do. And if there's no involvement with his with Wakanda, nothing that at all, but he hears about the Avengers fighting and he comes to kind of give his word and kind of meet them and kind of go over this whole entire situation because he's fearing that the Avengers are going to destroy the world if they keep on fighting or something. Who knows? Then it's just going to be interesting where he stands mostly. But Spider-Man as well. If they announce Spider-Man, they better announce Spider-Man. But it's just a big deal to really think of. And obviously, we're not going to know what sides they pick until the film comes out. They're not going to really reveal, like, roster, these people will join Iron Man and these people will join Captain America. That kind of ruins the whole fun of the film. Because what if they do a complete flip? What if they do a complete flip and Captain America is for the government controlling? And Iron Man's like, no. Then we're talking a complete flip. Oh my god, a complete flip than we were expecting. But obviously they're going to go kind of traditional, but obviously they're going to take some liberties and do different things to kind of make this a standout. Because obviously they're not following the superhero identity. They're following that the government wants to control what we do. And, they want to do that because look what happened to Ultron. But I digress. So, at the end of the day, as of right now, this casting looks fantastic. I love that they have a huge amount of people in this film. But at the same time, it also basically tells me this is not a Captain America movie. It is a Avenger film. Now, obviously, if they announce Hulk for a small scene, or they announce Thor for a small scene, and they announce Spider-Man, and they announce a couple of other characters, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch has like a small cameo role or something, then at that point, this is not a Captain America film. This is an Avenger film that happens to bridge us into Phase 3. It leads us into Phase 3. But of course, they're not going to change the name of that because they want Captain America to have his own movie. But at this point, it's going to be ridiculous. Now, look at this. Real quick before I continue on with the Suicide Squad talk, I just now thought of this. Captain America, his solo film includes so many people in the cinematic universe in one film. And then you look at Thor's film, as of right now, nothing. There's not going to be any Avengers in that film. There's not going to be any except for him, as far as we know. I doubt they're going to have any Avengers in Thor Ragnarok unless he comes back to Earth for something. But it's just kind of where Captain America gets all these people, and Thor is kind of going to be by himself. But he's got a big deal to worry about with Ragnarok, so no issues there. But yeah. It's just kind of interesting that Captain America's movie is going to have basically everybody except for Thor at this point. Maybe he'll get casted, but I mean, as of right now, if they left this casting and just added Spider-Man in, and this cast is perfection. But it's so good right now, but Spider-Man will make it perfect. So, anyways, let's get into the Suicide Squad picture, guys. I'm going to take a small drink of the drink. Wow, English is terrible. Okay. Let's get into the Suicide Squad photo. Okay, guys. Okay. Welcome to I don't know, this is the top, whatever. David Ayer tweeted this out on his Twitter account on May 3rd. Task Force X assembled and ready. Hashtag Suicide Squad. Okay, so let's get into this. Now, obviously, looking at this picture, I cannot tell you every character in this picture. I couldn't tell you who is who. I could tell you a few, but not everybody. I know for a fact that Rick Flag is standing there looking beastly as crap. That's what is his name? Jai Courtney is of course standing there looking all badass with the Rick Flag. I believe he's playing Rick Flag. Yes, I like the suit. I like the look of whatever her name. What is her name? Cara Devangi, something like that. Killer Croc. That's Enchantress. That was the second lady who's standing above the girl that's kneeling down. That's Enchantress, I believe. And it's kind of dark looking, but I mean, obviously they're going for a dark look here. But we'll get to the main thing in a couple seconds. I just want to talk about the few other individuals I can see standing out here. So, Killer Croc's look. Now, obviously, a lot of people have been saying some negative things about Killer Croc's look because he looks like just a guy with like a mutation. And then it was said on AMC Movie Talk with John Campea, who made a funny joke saying, "Remember those Fantastic Four films, like with the prosthetic thing? That looks like the thing without the orange on his face." But people also reference that this is kind of the original look of the Killer Croc back in like the early days of the comics from DC. So they're going for the classic look. I would have personally liked a more modernized Croc look, but at the same time, maybe it wouldn't have fit in this universe as of yet. Maybe he will become more crocodile-like and become more of that traditional Killer Croc later in the films for some reason, like his mutation or something gets worse or whatever. But for right now, I mean, it's okay. I mean, my main focus is, of course, Deadshot, a.k.a. Will Smith. It looks decent. I mean, obviously, this is just a photo. This is not them in action. This is not them moving. This is not a scene. This is just a picture. So it's kind of weird to kind of look at it, but because we don't know exactly the idea behind this film, we don't know the full story about this film. We just don't know anything really about this film besides it's a film about Suicide Squad with the Joker. Ooh, and that's kind of what we know. So we kind of just gotta deal with what we gotta deal with here. But I kind of like to look at the Deadshot character. Will Smith looks kind of cool. I mean, obviously his suit is very unique. There's a lot of interesting things on it. I mean, I like the red and black a little bit, but I mean, I just want to see him in action. I want to see him actually taking out guys. Him standing there, it's kind of decent, but I mean, I want to see what he looks like in action. Will make me more understand his interpretation of the character. Let's get to the main person here. The main person everyone's talking about. Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie. I mean, okay, I tweeted this thing out, and I think I posted it on my Facebook as well, this picture when it came out. And honestly, guys, Margot Robbie, I mean, she has the look of Harley Quinn. Now, on the back of that jacket, well, at least there's a jacket she's wearing apart on some set photos, says property of Joker. So that kind of confirms that she is in love, that she's with Joker. That's kind of the theory, that she is with Joker at this point, because we were kind of thinking, well, maybe she doesn't know Joker yet, or she's with Joker, or she doesn't really like him at this point, and like maybe they'll get back together. But I mean, with the jacket saying property of Joker, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Okay, well, she's with Joker, so there you have it. And of course, she has a thing around her neck, like a kind of like a really short necklace. It's like it's like a collar type thing, and it says "Puddin'," which is really funny, but it kind of makes sense. But this outfit she's wearing is kind of okay. I mean, people are saying this is the new 52 look, from the comics of Harley Quinn. But obviously, I like honestly, my favorite look of Harley Quinn has to be the Batman Arkham games. Now, I know that has no continuity and no connection with the DC Cinematic Universe, but I mean, something a little more like that. I mean, I would have been like, yes, but I mean, with this, it's decent. I mean, it doesn't really like stand out to me as epic. What I'm more concerned and what I really want to see from all of them, but especially Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, is of course the acting. I want to see how Harley Quinn is portrayed in this film. I hope that Margot Robbie has that voice nailed down or some kind of variation. I mean, obviously she doesn't have to copy and paste the voice acting of Harley Quinn from the animated series or from the video games or whatever. But I'm hoping that her voice kind of resembles a little bit, reminds us of that voice of Harley Quinn. It doesn't have to copy and sound exactly like the Harley Quinn we know from the animated shows and all that stuff. What I would like to see is her rendition be unique, but also kind of make us go, yeah, I can definitely see that as Harley Quinn. That is definitely Harley Quinn, not going, well, she's playing a cool character, but I don't really see her as Harley Quinn. I'm hoping that her rendition really does stand out. It's kind of like my talk about the Jared Leto Joker, where I want him to be a very unique Joker, but make us look at him on screen and us watching him in a scene and acting or whatever, and all of us go, that's the Joker. It's his Joker. That is Joker right there. Same thing for Harley Quinn. Because I think that's the most important character that people are excited for the first time ever. Harley Quinn in a DC film on live action essentially. So everyone's going to be paying attention to Margot Robbie's rendition of Harley Quinn. So with the whole thing about Jared Leto's Joker, that's Joker. He's acting like Joker. He is Joker. Same thing about Margot Robbie. We want to see her on screen. We want her to see her performance, her voice, and how she basically portrays this character. And all of us sit there in the theater and go, yes, that is Harley Quinn. Yes. Now, the outfit thing, I brought this up and someone mentioned that it's been I don't know if it's confirmed, but it's been talked about, speculated that she will have several outfits in this film. Which means the outfit you're seeing in this photo is not going to be the outfit she's always in throughout the film. But if that's the case and that's the outfit that she's always in, I'll have to just manage with it. But if there's a few different outfit changes for some of these characters or for all of them or just for her, that's fine too. But I mean, either way, I mean, I guess I'd have to deal with it. But I would prefer to have her change costume and change it up to really just make it feel like, they're actually going through different things and different days, and it's not the same thing where she's wearing the same clothes over and over and over, because it's not a costume. It's her putting on clothes. She's representing how crazy and how in love she's with Joker, we assume, and all this other stuff. So it's not a costume like Batman, where he can change the costume and make it a different color, but he's still wearing the Batman costume. Harley Quinn, I mean, she can have an outfit, like in the animated show she had an outfit, and in the Batman Arkham games she has an outfit, but I mean in this rendition it's obvious that this is not her costume. This is not, she is Harley Quinn. She's not playing a character in this film. She is Harley Quinn. She's not Harley Quinn and then at night Harley Quinn, during the day she's somebody else. Throughout the entire day, throughout 24/7, she is Harley Quinn. So it's not an outfit, it's not a costume. She can just wear whatever she wants. So that's kind of my argument about that. The rest of the characters I did not touch on. I do not know their names off the top of my head, guys, because this is my really first introduction into Suicide Squad, and I kind of want it to be a surprise for some of these characters, because I don't know about a lot of these characters. I know about Killer Croc, I know about Deadshot, I know about Harley Quinn. I know a little bit about Rick Flag just because, that was the first name that really popped out, and people were saying he's the leader of the Suicide Squad, at least in the comic book versions, or some versions he's the leader of it. But the other characters, I know Enchantress' name. I know there's another name I can't remember off the top of my head. It's the person who that Tom Hardy was supposed to be playing, and Tom Hardy backed out. But I want to be introduced to these characters on the film, and then when I watch the film and after I'm done, I'll of course go back and look into more of their characters and see what the differences were from the film and the comic book versions of their characters. So I kind of want my first introduction to most of these characters be the film, and then I'll look back later, because I like that. I like that about the Marvel films and the DC films, that we're going to be introduced to characters that I might be familiar with, but not really, or for characters I have no idea about, and then I hear about them and learn about them and watch them on screen, and then I can go back and learn more about that character if I really enjoyed them. So that's my whole thought about it, because if I look into these characters now and look into their whole backstory, their biography, and all this other stuff, and the different versions of them in the comic books, and look at the Suicide Squad comics, and learn about these different characters, then I know a lot about all these different characters. Then I go see the film and realize, well, I wish they really did that with that character, and I really wish they would have did this with this character. And then I realize I'm nitpicking something, that I easily could not have known about, and then I can go back in the comics and go, well, yeah, they could have changed that, but I like the rendition of here. It's a brand new experience to see them first on screen, and then learn that there's more about them that meets the eye from the screen they didn't do, and that they didn't do, but in the comics they're doing something completely different. So for me, I want to learn about these characters first on the big screen, and then go back later, like I've been saying. So there's that. I know that my explanation of the Suicide Squad photo was, of course, not great and not, the best, but it is what it is. So, anyways, guys, thank you guys for checking out the podcast. That is the podcast, guys. What do you think of the Civil War casting? Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think of the Suicide Squad photo? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.